Hi, my name's Rich Brown, and today we're answering the most frequently asked and the most should be asked questions about your marketing. This is the Marketing Powwow.
The QBD podcast.
The Marketing Powwow.
Many business owners don't look at their website as that vehicle to get them to where they need to go. How would AI know about that you offer this service if you don't talk about it? If I am running ads, should I have a special page for that? Marketers, business owners, when they're driving traffic to a page, they forget that clear call to action.
Yeah.
We're using video, we're using images to search. So, the mindset of your prospect. What are the questions that they're going to be asking? Write content about it.
Today we have a very special guest in the studio, Liam Maskell, Head of Sales at QBD. We'll be sharing the questions we hear most from our clients about their digital marketing, but also the questions they should be asking to know if their marketing is a success. From why does my website matter, to how to know if your marketing is even working. We'll be covering a range of topics and giving you a snippet into all these different aspects of your marketing. So let's get into the Marketing Powwow.
The QBD podcast.
Marketing Powwow.
Hi Liam, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So why is a website so important for a business?
A website is so important for a business for a number of reasons. It's often referred to as your shop window. It's that first view, it's that first touch point often. Yeah. It's the first thing that your prospects will see. So it's vitally important that you say who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and also include why you do it, because that's the thing that enables you to stand out from your competitors.
I was going to say, that's the thing that people often miss, isn't they? They forget to do the why, don't they?
Absolutely, and it's such a simple thing you can do. And as I say, in a very competitive market, it's the thing that enables you to be, different to your competitors.
Yeah, it differentiates you, isn't it? It really gives you that ability to connect with those prospects, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I often find with websites nowadays, with the people I've been speaking to recently, when they say about how I want to generate leads, that I often say all roads lead back to the website, don't they? So if whatever marketing you're doing, ultimately someone's going to will get to your website. So it's important that it looks good, doesn't it, really, and performs well? Definitely.
It just needs to marry up to the messaging that you go out with as well. We sit through a lot of meetings where a business owner describes their business, but then when you go and look at their website, something completely different shows up. So It needs to be up to date as well. Okay, so the next question that we often, I suppose, help people understand is, what are the different types of websites are there? Well, this has changed with technology advancements. And we're in our QBD Creates range, we've got brochure websites, which are websites that are just designed to display information. We may have some informational websites that may be a library of documents or resources and content. We may have catalog websites, which may be cataloging products, services, but not necessarily offering the option to buy. And then we have e-commerce websites, full shopping cart experiences. And where I made the point about how technology's moved on, a very simple brochure website now could have e-commerce capability. So it really does depend on the business goals, their needs, what they're looking to do. Because a plumber could have a payment link to pay their bill on their brochure website. Doesn't necessarily mean it's an e-commerce website. Yeah, and I suppose that's quite a key thing, isn't it? That sort of barrier that technology is broken down. That you can have a website that really serves what you need to do as a business. It's just important to understand what it is you want from the website. 100%. So many business owners don't look at their website as that vehicle to get them to where they need to go. They don't start with the end in mind. And then the other type of a website that I didn't reference there was landing pages, because I think that's a phrase that can be taken out of context. Yeah, it can confuse people, can't it? Definitely, because every page on your website essentially is a landing page. It's a page where people will land on if they've come off an ad or they've come off a Google search. But also a landing page can be used in the context if you're running a campaign, an offer where you want to drive people to that specific page. Yeah. Which leads quite nicely into another question off the back of it. Is if I am running ads, should I have a special page for that? Yeah. So, Rich, a question I'd like to put back to you is, why should we have a landing page if we're running ads, for example? Yeah, it's quite interesting. So like you mentioned, landing pages are quite interesting because it's the page that people land on. And first of all, the thing I always think about with landing pages when I speak to people, and again, those sort of frequently asked questions, but the thing I sort of put back to them is that, not everybody's going to come to your website through the front door. So not everybody's going to look at your homepage. And like we mentioned, you could hit any page on your website at any time from any place. But from an ads point of view, it's important because
you've got people there, you've attracted them for a certain interest, or you've targeted them with a certain message, and you want to make that journey for them as quickly and as seamless and as easy as you can. I often say you can't underestimate how little people are paying attention and little they care about what you do when you're running ads. And so if I've got your attention through an ad, if I've targeted you through an ad, and I've sent you to a page, probably the biggest mistake I see from ads is that people then just throw them at the homepage or throw them at the contact us page, and you're letting that person have to figure out where to go from there. Whereas with the landing page, and I suppose that's when you get into that definition of a landing page from an ad, where it's kind of like a dead end. I always sort of see it as a dead end in the sort of journey. I'm going to send you to a page here, and the only thing you can do on that page is the thing I want you to do, which is book a call, sign up, download the thing, sign up for the webinar, buy our product. And so from that point of view, from the journey point of view, landing pages are really important because you're trying to make that journey that you take people on from the ad really easy to do, really seamless, really easy to connect with you. From an ad point of view, it's quite interesting with landing pages, and I know Molly, our colleague, would say this a lot with Google, is you'll have what's called the quality score. And so when you're running ads, if you're running Google ads or even the social media ads nowadays, the ad platform, Google or Meta, will see where you're sending people to. They will see the link that you're sending people to, and they will go and almost review that page, and they will see if that page is relevant to what the thing you're talking about. So gone are the days where you could just really trick someone and sort of say the ad's for one thing, and I send you to a page that's about something totally different. You'll really get penalised for that in ads nowadays. It's not that they won't stop you running the ad, you just won't get any results from it, and you'll pay a lot for nothing. So from an ad point of view, the landing page is really key because it means you can really tailor what's on the page to the people that you're targeting. So something that you'll be interested in, actually, that we've been toying with. We've been running ads for a hearing aid company recently, and one of his target audience is golfers, which I know is a subject close to your heart. And so we're going to think, well, through Meta, through Facebook and Instagram, we can target people who are interested in golf. That's just one of the things you can do. We send them to a dedicated landing page that's got photos of golfers, and it talks about the need for sort of hearing aids to interact with your friends on the course or in the clubhouse afterwards. That's a really lovely journey to send those people on. It's got a far better chance of converting than it's if I was just to throw them at the homepage or even the generic page about hearing aids. And so it just gives you that opportunity that you can lean on to, that ability of, you can really micro target people through the ads. So why wouldn't you then carry that forward and have that being shown through the website itself and on the landing page?
Absolutely. I mean, the amount of marketers, business owners, when they're driving traffic to a page, they forget that clear call to action.
Yeah.
And actually, in our 6-point content plan, the last thing there we talk about, have that clear call to action, because users, we want to be told what to do next.
Yeah.
And would you say the biggest mistake business owners make, marketers make, is they forget to put that clear call to action in?
Definitely. From an ad point of view, I think it's really important that you've got to make that, you said, that next step really easy. So what next? So what next? It's got to be that really straightforward thing. What's interesting with a landing page as well, and things that we've worked with, again, with Molly, our PPC expert, that we've done with a couple of other clients, is what you need to do from a landing page point of view to sort of get it right from like a quality score, as it's called with PPC. So what you're talking about on the landing page is what you're talking about in the ad. So the keywords that you're targeting through a Google ad need to appear on that landing page. And there's almost like an element of SEO to it, isn't there? Where you have to everything has to align. So Google, or if it's Meta ads, as I said before, that you're running that through so they can see that continuity. What we have found though with those ads is that those landing pages often then aren't the best way to almost do the normal SEO or the GEO or the AIO nowadays. It's the what's needed, the criteria to have a successful landing page, we find is slightly different to the criteria that you need for a maybe more generic page for SEO terms. So having that dedicated landing page from an ad is really, really important, because yes, it gives you those clear call to actions, but it can feed what you're talking about in the ads. The other thing I just wanted to mention as well was it can really help with the tracking. So I know, this is a question coming up later actually about tracking the website and things. It's been a really interesting time recently with tracking of stats. And so something we've put into place again with some of our clients is, so if I'm going to run an ad, so if you're the business that's come to us and you want us to run your PPC campaign or you want us to run your meta ads for you, obviously we can show you the stats, and ultimately it's the conversions that you get that you track. If you've got a dedicated landing page that can only really be found through the ad, so it's not sort of listed in the menu or the top navigation of your website, the landing page is only really accessible from the ad. It just gives that stronger support to the stats of the ad, if that makes sense, because then you can see what traffic the ad is generating. Yes, the platforms itself like Google and Meta will give you those stats, but they don't always correlate with then what Google Analytics are telling you and then what your own sort of ear tells you of how many people are inquiring. So that landing page gives you that journey to see the stats where people are going as well, and you can really get an understanding if your ads are working or not. So another question that isn't necessarily a frequently asked one, but one that business owners should be asking themselves is, why is it important that search engines and social media sites understand the content on your website? Well,
ultimately, these bots, and we've recorded a brilliant 2-part episode about marketing to robots. I'm not going to reference all of that. You'll be pleased to know, because we could be another few hours talking about that subject. But the really core fundamental here is that they are the gatekeeper. And if you can enable them to clearly understand who you are, what you do, and who you do it for, then they are going to want to recommend you. There are some other things we need to throw in as well, technical side of things. And that's often a thing that people, forget. They think, well, we just build a website that's really pretty and it says who we are, what we do, and who we do it for. But actually, if you don't have the technical foundations in place, then the website isn't going to be found in the first place.
She mentioned those technical aspects of the website. What is it that the robots are looking for?
Well, I could be here all day answering that question. I think, obviously, we go and listen to the podcast, ask us, ask your existing web company. But to cover some of those top line details, it's how fast the website's loading. Is it responsive? Has it got any broken links? Because if the robots see a broken link, they're probably not going to offer you a website in the same way as if your competitor, all the links, all the buttons work. So it does come down to those real basic fundamentals. Does it even have a sitemap? And you'll be amazed the amount of websites I look at, they don't have that sitemap.xml file, which is that's the instructions. That's the way that the search engine, the bots can understand what pages are on your website.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting you said that often, I suppose people listening and watching this will think, oh, well, yeah, I've got my website and there's a couple of links, and it's not perfect, but it's all right. I think the thing always people need to think about as well is there's probably a competitor out there that's got a better version. Like, they don't have those issues. So the robot is going to prefer them over you. So it's really important actually that you do your housekeeping, you get your website in good order.
Absolutely. And there are so many elements to SEO, and we talk about this in one of the talks we do, 9 quick wins to grow your business online. And one of the elements, and it sticks out for me all the time, is Google My Business. Now, I know we're talking about a website here, but in Google My Business, it's the same fundamental here. We encourage and we recommend that you fill in every box, even though it's not relevant, because it helps give you that best opportunity to be found in the search engine, exactly in the same way with the special information that Google's looking for. So your sitemap, your robots file, your structured data, schema markup. These are all things that you have as almost like a tactic. So fill in every field. Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I always find as well that I'll say to people that it's, these robots they're really busy trying to index the whole website or the whole internet. So if you can make their job as easy as possible for them, you are going to get preferential treatment, or you're going to have a better chance of ranking higher. Okay, that's great to cover those subjects so far. One of the other, probably the biggest question I get asked all the time, and it is a big one, so brace yourself for it, is AI. In terms of, I know we could go down loads of different rabbit holes with this, but just give us that overview of those business owners listening to this that will just want to get that overview of how is AI sort of changing search and websites.
I mean, ultimately, this is my favorite topic so far. I love AI. We've got a podcast on this, and I could talk about this all day. The way that people are using the internet, we've been taught by Google almost to ask a question. But now we're asking questions in different ways. We're adding emotion, we're adding context, we're adding our needs into these questions. We're using video, we're using images to search. So we can take a photo of something. What is this? I've got these ingredients in my cupboard. Make me a meal plan. So it's absolutely amazing. And I think, not to sound like a broken record, but the best thing you can do as a business owner is clearly say who you are, what you do, and who you do it for, and answer some of those questions. So get into the mindset of your prospect. What are the questions that they're going to be asking? Write content about it, because ultimately AI needs to be fed the information. And I don't see this necessarily changing too much. Being a bit, it's very, very, without dating this too much, but ChatGPT are talking about adding ads into their platform. They're talking about, well, I think this is available across the pond, but buying directly within AI. And I think Google and Copilot, all of these other platforms will follow as well. So actually, it's becoming more important to get those basics right and talk about it on your website, because how would AI know about that you offer this service if you don't talk about it?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's, again, something that we speak to a lot of businesses about. It's that, yes, things are changing, but it's not drastically different. We've been taught by Google how to use the internet for the last 20 odd years, haven't we? And ultimately, it's still, like you mentioned, those fundamentals are still key. So unfortunately, there's not this quick shortcut silver bullet win to this. You've still got to do it. And a term that I often use nowadays is you do have to train these robots, almost like dogs, don't you? You have to teach them who you are, what you do, where you do it, who you do it for. And a lot of that still comes back to the fundamentals of a website, doesn't it?
Definitely. I think OpenAI talk about you're going to have a PhD student in your laptop, but no, you really have to treat it like a 5-year-old. And I think this is, I guess, another common mistake the business owners make, that they just launch their website, just leave it. And we have pulse programs designed directly to enable a business to continue on growing, to keep feeding these AI and these answer engines, the search engines, with the up-to-date information.
So I suppose one of the questions that people are thinking right now, having listening to watching to this, is, okay, so how can I check if my website is on track to be ranked by these robots well?
So there are a number of things you can do. There are some amazing tools out there, some free trials, some that cost a lot of money. Firstly, I would have a conversation with somebody that you know is an SEO specialist, but ask us. It doesn't cost to have a conversation with what you and I, and we do hundreds of audits, reviews in a week, in a month. But one of the hacks you can do, and this is a bit of an old trick, if you like. If you just go to Google and you type in site, SITE, and then a semicolon, and then put your web address, that will return all of the pages that have been indexed on your website. The other thing is you've got Google Search Console, which can also give you an indication. But ultimately, I think you should be asking your SEO specialist, or just ask us.
Yeah, I was going to say, just come through to us. We're doing these things all the time. And what this whole episode is based on today is the conversations that we're having from those people that are reaching out to us. And we are relaying back a lot of those common questions and common mistakes that people are making.
Definitely. And the other thing is, obviously, where there's so much information out there, we are absolutely in an information age. You could have all the information at your fingertips, so we do. But if you don't know how to order that data, or understand whether I should have a call to action at the top of my page, at the middle of the page, we have the experience. We've been doing this a long time, so we know what works, what doesn't. So we'll be able to tell you a lot quicker than you figure out yourself.
Yeah, for me as well, it's a lot of, like you said, the information age, as you put it, is a good way of putting it. You can get drunk on numbers, can't you, in terms of, like, there's so many stats out there, and we often say, we could produce you endless reports with loads of numbers, which you won't really understand most of them. And it can be very sort of confusing. And it leads me on to my next question, actually, which is tied into a little bit of that. But so once the website is live, why should you keep improving it? Why isn't it just done? So I've done my website, I've launched it, I can sit back, put my feet up. Why do you need to continue improving and working on your website once it's gone live?
Well, firstly, the internet doesn't work like that. It's so competitive. You've always got other people out there trying to get business. So firstly, I think you should be keeping that up to date. It's just a bit like, if you run a takeaway, you've got a new thing on your menu, you put it on your menu. So you should also put it on your website. If you've changed address, and I suppose the amount of times I've had a conversation with clients where they've moved, they've changed their phone numbers, and they've not updated it. That's important, because it shows your audience, but it shows the search engines, these answer engines, that you're still, active. You're still there. A great tip, bonus tip here, is that post on Google My Business as well. if you've changed your address, if you've added a new product or service, because, we work with a lot of innovators, entrepreneurs that are always coming up with new programs, new products, new services, and so you should be updating your website all of the time.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing that, again, I don't think businesses probably sometimes realises how much their business does evolve over time. And as I mentioned, we do lots of website audits, and I know you speak to a lot of business owners about how to get the most out of their websites. And I think the thing I hear you say most to these people is, yeah, but you're not talking about that on your website. And I think it's probably because 5 years ago they had their menu of if they were the takeaway, and they do these things. And we've had conversations with accountancy firms recently that are now offering 3 or 4 more services on top of what they used to offer. They're not on their website, and they just haven't thought of that. Oh yeah, actually, you need to give that website that information. It is a real common mistake, isn't it? That you see,
because they're always looking for that silver bullet, and there is no such thing as a silver bullet. And we make that very clear in all of the conversations we have, that the fundamentals are really key to you growing your business online and having success.
And I remember as well, sort of a story on that point really was I'd done an audit for a company that do cybersecurity, and they'd obviously done that thing where they'd done their website, and they really had that approach of, right, our website is done. And then since they'd launched that website, the business has been going for a long time, but since their sort of new website had launched, COVID happened, but then also nowadays AI is introduced as well. So when we did the review of their website, at no point across any of their websites did it mention AI, which, when I say that now, sounds ridiculous. Yeah. But 5 years ago, when they did their website and they had that approach of, we've done the SEO, we've done the website, there you go, it's a brochure that's basically we've printed and stuck online. That says everything we do. And then when we came back to look at it, it wasn't so much the services had changed, the world around us had changed. And for a cybersecurity company not to be mentioning AI, and like you mentioned when you were talking about those answer engines where people are they're asking these AI bots questions, they're asking Google questions. That's how we search the internet. People are asking those questions of, what is the impact of AI on cybersecurity? There's a website over there that doesn't mention AI at all, but has got the things that they can do. And it shows that, yes, it might not be that you feel that your business has changed too much, but the world changes around you, and actually what people are Googling and what people are searching changes. And that's something that you help a lot of businesses try and understand, isn't it? That what are people searching? What are those things that should be on your website? Get that content on there. You talk a lot, don't you, about blogs and that ongoing content to really improve the website.
Definitely, and it's really quite an easy thing to do, because firstly we've got the news. So there is one strategy, say, try and be topical, try and keep up to date. For right now, we're recording this literally just ahead of the budget. Yep. So every financial advisor, accountant's answering questions about that. But ultimately, it comes down to what are the questions that your prospects are asking, your customers asking you, and create content about it. There is a great website there called Answer the Public, which again does that same thing. I always tend to recommend a book, which is They Ask You Answer, Marcus Sheridan. Fantastic read, great listen as well. And those are the things you should be doing as marketers, as business owners, because that enables you to keep your website up to date. Because ultimately, if we're not talking about, we talk about your cyber security client there, we've had a lot of cyber attacks recently. They've been really, household names being having
really prominent stories. Yeah.
And if you're not, let's say, referencing those individuals or those organizations, but talking about what can you do as a business to protect yourself against a cyber attack. Yeah. Because that's just the way the world is going.
Yeah. I think it's because obviously this episode today we're talking about the frequently asked and should be asked questions. And I suppose the question that I would throw back to the listeners and the people watching now is, when was the last time you looked at your own website? The stuff we're talking about, we're explaining things and people won't be listening to this and thinking, crikey, that's a lot I've got to do. That's a lot of things I need to be aware of. And we're here to help you with those things. But just start with that first thing. When was the last time you went on your own website and read your own content? And that will start a lot of these. Definitely. It'll start a lot of these threads that then you can pick up yourself, or you can get in touch with us and we can help you with.
Yeah. The other thing is maybe just ask somebody that's not, very really close to the business and go, have a look at my website. What do you think?
Yeah.
But then again, ask us. Like, we're more than happy to, to conduct these reviews, these audits. We do these all of the time. We've got some great processes that we go through.
Yeah. And on that, a good little sort of tip that a thing that I'd come across is, so we do a lot of networking. Obviously with Sterling and some of the others, but we do a lot of business networking, and you have to deliver your 60 seconds.
Yes.
And so what I've actually said in some of my own 60 seconds is, if you need a sub, so if you can't make the meeting and you're going to bring somebody else in to talk about your business on your behalf, it's a really good opportunity for you to test how good your website is. Because what you should be able to do is just send them to your website, and they should be able to do a 60 seconds for you.
Definitely.
Based on that. So for those of you that are listening that maybe aren't aware of the 60-second thing, it's an opportunity for you to stand up in front of a room full of business people to say who you are, what you do, the types of businesses that you work for, maybe the locations that you work in, and the benefits that you offer. And that's what your website should be saying, actually. So when the next time you are going to a network meeting, or you are going to get someone to sub for you, just ask them to do the 60 seconds for you based on your website, and that will give you a really good insight into what your website is saying, not just to them, but then obviously it says that to the robots that are ultimately the ones that get those gatekeepers that we talked about.
Definitely. And the other thing you could do is ask AI. I've been in a number of meetings recently where the sub has just gone on to ChatGPT and asked, what do you know about this business? Create me a 60-second elevator pitch. And interestingly, we had a sub in one of our groups the other month, and that 60 seconds was the best 60 seconds that we'd ever heard about our business.
Yeah.
And in the whole room were like, wow, did he send you that?
Yeah.
And they were like, no, I used AI.
Yeah.
So
it proves, doesn't it? One, it obviously proves that whatever's on that person's website they're doing a good job, but also the AI is that's how much they are reading this stuff. They are reading your website. They are referencing, or certainly looking to reference, your site. So and as we said right at the top of the show, it's really important to say those things on your website.
Absolutely. Good in, good out. So yeah, definitely.
Something I just wanted to pick you up on that you mentioned earlier about the importance of why. So don't make it a weird question, but so why is important? Why is why so important to get across in your marketing?
Why?
Yeah. Why is that?
It's such a powerful question. It's such a simple question. It's one that often you answer. You can stand out from the crowd. You become that key differentiator. Enables you to stand out from your competitors. It can set that clear direction. It gives you purpose to actually why you're doing this, and it's such a powerful thing in storytelling. And when we're creating content for clients, John often talks about it very early in the tone of voice meeting. And for people that have been through those meetings, we've been through hundreds of those, you know where I'm going with the question. He goes, tell me how you got to here and why. It's always a question. And we use the Simon Sinek, start with why is a really core methodology and value about us.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned John there. So for those listening, if you want to go and check out the podcast that we've recorded with John, he goes into this subject a lot more than we'll do today, because we could be here for the rest of the session today talking about the why. So if you're interested about how you get that story telling across in your marketing, go check out the podcast that we did with John. But I suppose for me, what I found out, you mentioned that sort of storytelling element, it helps with the authenticity, doesn't it? Because you're really putting yourself on the line, aren't you?
Definitely. And again, it sets that tone. It gives you that direction, that purpose of actually, this is really important to say why we do this. So it gives us that confidence and builds that trust with our user that gives the
Yeah, and it makes all your other marketing almost like fall into place, doesn't it? Like you then know what you want to say in your social media posts and your emails, because it's coming from that place of authenticity, isn't it?
Exactly. And, I think we could all agree we'd rather be in that position of knowing why we're doing something rather than just freewheeling it, just winging it. Okay, Rich, I've got one for you. So how many social media platforms should I be on? 2 questions, actually. And how many times should I post a week?
Yeah, it's probably one of the questions I get asked the most. So in terms of frequent, this is the frequent one. I will give proper answers to it. There's a whole thing of, it depends what content you've got to say. Like you've got to, there's only posting things that are going to be valuable. So don't post for the sake of it. But typically what we see nowadays is I would aim for sort of 2 or 3 platforms. They've changed a lot. It just depends. Don't fall into the trap that people live in silos. So if you're B2B, that doesn't mean you should be posting on Instagram. I'd be looking at 2 or 3 platforms and trying to post 2 or 3 times a week. There's obviously lots of caveats and there's lots of things that can vary on that. So do reach out and we can put together a proper content plan for you. But 2 or 3 platforms, 2 or 3 times a week, and you'd be good to go.
And where should you get the content that you're posting on those platforms from?
I think it's more and more important nowadays, as we've covered today, about you've got to be aware of the robots looking at everything. So the content really, if you've got your website content right that we've covered, it almost should be echoes of that. So the term I'm starting to use with this is your social media platforms are almost like content outposts, because what you're talking about on your website is what you should be talking about on your social media, because you're still training the robots as to who you are, what you do, where you do it. I think we're slightly drifting away from that fun behind the scenes, almost like silly dance stuff. I think your social media content should be more strategic than that to help with your SEO, GEO and AIO.
Totally agree.
Okay, last few quick fire questions for you, Liam. What is a realistic marketing budget for a small business?
It depends, of course, on the turnover, the type of business you are, how much you're willing to invest into, generate a lead or a sale. The textbooks may say 10 to 20% of your turnover. 20% is probably a bit too high. But being realistic, a few £100 is a really great place to start, especially if you're not doing anything. We've got programs that start from as little as a few £100. So within QBD Pulse. So yeah, if you're not doing any marketing, then you need to start to invest just a few £100, because a few £100 turns into a few thousand, and then ultimately you can, generate more revenue as a result.
So following on for that question, should someone hire someone to do their marketing if they've only got a few £100 to spend a month?
Probably not, because that wouldn't be the best investment. Because often what we find with a lot of our clients is that they think, the next logical step is I'm going to hire a marketing manager. And what often happens is they're brought in to create the strategy, which they're really good at doing, and have lots of ideas, but they might not have all of the expertise to, execute on that plan. But, not to sound like a politician, but it really does depend on the size of the business and what they're trying to achieve. And
the final question, actually, I'll pose to both of us, so we'll both give an answer to this, is what is the biggest mistake that you see businesses making with their marketing?
Not being consistent. Can I have 2, please?
I'll give you 2.
Okay, not being consistent and not having a clear call to action. Sorry, I've probably stolen all your answers there.
No, not at all. Actually, it's interesting because I think that's been the good thing about doing this podcast is there are so many questions out there. There's so many things that people want to know the answers to. There's things that people should know the answers to. And I think that actually brings me on to my biggest mistake is that people, like you said, they're not addressing that they ask, you answer approach with their marketing, not just on their website. It's that consistency across the social media, but they don't answer those questions and they don't present themselves as the experts and not just pick up the frequently asked questions, but also talk about the should be asked questions. Demonstrate your knowledge, demonstrate your experience, demonstrate your expertise. I think in the world of AI nowadays, you've really got to bring that authenticity across, an authenticness about things. And so you've really got to get that across, and you can demonstrate that through your knowledge. And I think not enough businesses do that.
It's amazing how we've got so far in this podcast and we've not actually really referenced EEAT, experience, expertise, authority, and trust.
Yeah.
Because that is definitely something, if you're not, looking at, you're not aware of it, go and read the guidelines. We've got some amazing resources on that.
Yeah.
And that's, fundamental to all the conversation we have. We need to do it online and offline. Demonstrate your experience, your expertise, your authority, and your trust. Yeah,
that's a good point. I think this is the longest I've ever spoken, and it's a good job it's on camera. And I've never, and I haven't not mentioned EEAT. But yeah, absolutely. And for me nowadays, the biggest mistake is people aren't doing the A. Like they're all important.
Definitely.
Demonstrate. It said expertise, experience, but people aren't demonstrating their authoritativeness enough, and that's the biggest mistake for me.
And it is a very simple thing to do as well. Again, I know we're looking to wrap this up, but just ask, have a conversation with one of us. We'd be more than happy to help.
Well, that's been great. Thanks for your time today, Liam. It's great to go through some of those questions. I know we've probably tiptoed around a lot of rabbit holes we could have lost ourselves down. So how can people get in touch to find out more and get more help with their marketing?
So firstly, have a look at the website. We've got lots of great free resources. We've got the podcast, so other episodes, and we've got more to come. The blogs, the articles we have, the downloads. But connect with us on social media. Connect with us on LinkedIn, on Instagram. we're going to continue to keep posting more content to answer those questions that you, the listeners, want to hear. And of course, if you want to get in touch directly, you can book a call through our website or fill in the contact form.
Thanks again to Liam for joining us today. It's been wonderful to have you in the studio and for you to share your experiences with us on the show. Visit qbd.co.uk/powwow to enjoy more of our content and contact details on how to connect with Liam. All the links are in the show notes. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast so others can enjoy our content on digital marketing. I look forward to joining you again on the QBD podcast, The Marketing Powwow.
The QBD Podcast.
Marketing Powwow.